What is going on? It's Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we are going to be breaking down NBC's brand new 2025 NFL mock draft. If you are new, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. You guys know how to use YouTube. Below my face is my board. It is not predictive. These are the players I love in the order that I love them. I back it up with all 22 clips over on my X page, so feel free to follow me over there. And if you do want to support the show, use the code HAILMARY when you sign up for UnderDog Fantasy. You get up to $1,000 in bonus credits when you sign up. They send me $60, full transparency, but it's a brand that I love. It's a brand I support, and they support me as well. But let's go into this. Let's have a great time. Starting out with the number 1 overall pick, we got the Titans going Cam Ward. And since they just ended up signing 2 offensive linemen in free agency, Zeitler as well as Dan Moore, I do see them trying to fortify the offensive line. And when you do bring in Zeitler for 1 year, it does make me start to believe that quarterback could be the move at 1. Your offensive line is relatively solidified at the moment, and so it's an interesting spot to be in for sure. We'll see if it ends up coming to fruition, but personally, I'd rather have Abdul Carter and end up with a worse record and end up getting a better quarterback next year. But if you think Cam Ward genuinely has the upside to be a legitimate number 1 type of quarterback in the NFL, and not somebody who is a top 20, top 32 to 22 guy, which those are the guys who we're constantly looking to upgrade from. If you can think he's just genuinely belongs to the QB1, then this is worth it. But again, you're talking about a number 1 overall pick. It does have some things tied to it. Browns go Shedeur Sanders at 2. I highly doubt that this would be the case. They need to get younger and cheaper at a multitude of positions. And quarterback could be the move, but I don't think that they're going to be willing to spend the second pick on Shedeur. I do think there's going to be a fall. And it's not my bias. It's just all these moves, the way, you have to be arrogant to not look at all these teams bringing in all of these free agent veterans and act as if, and especially with the desperation that they're having, acting as if we know that Shedeur Sanders is just some guarantee. So, if the Giants really thought Shedeur Sanders was a great option, why would they look so desperate trying to go after Rodgers and Russell Wilson? If they thought that he was their franchise quarterback, they would do everything they can in order to get Shedeur, and they would not be desperate in that way. So that's just something that I want to put out there. Cleveland's literally bringing in Russell Wilson. There's an option there. So they're going to go quarterback. The question is, are they going to do it in free agency, or are they going to do it in the draft? And when are they going to do it in the draft? At number 3, you got the Giants going Abdul Carter. And at this point, you might as well do it. If he somehow slips to 3, then you take Abdul Carter, you trade away maybe Kayvon Thibodeau, and then see what happens from there. I'm sure that maybe the Chargers would love him. Kayvon Thibodeau ended up going to same high school as me, same high school class. So shout out to KT, but grew up in LA. So definitely somebody that could end up wanting to go back to LA where they're still trying to rebuild. But it's an intriguing option if it does happen that way. Patriots then go Travis Hunter at 4. Again, I do think that Carter and Hunter go in the top 3, but we'll see what happens. I think that a lot of people are afraid to do what, are afraid to test that theory out. But that is, I respect it. If you have one mock draft like this guy's doing here, I respect it. I would not be overly ballsy as well. At 5, the Jags go Armand Membu. Talk about being ballsy. He's a fun player. He will go in the top 10. The production's there. He already was like a top 40 to 32 player based on just purely the tape. And then you talk about the athleticism and the age, you start really getting the upside of it all as well. So very exciting player here in Armand Membu. I don't think he's a good fit for the Jaguars. I'm personally not really understanding why. I don't think the offensive tackle spot is the area of biggest need for the team. There's a lot of holes on the roster, but looking at Gladstone, where he came from, it's more so veteran patchwork at the tackles. So I don't know if he's going to value it the way that, maybe someone even like Liam Cohen would. At number 6, you got the Jaguars going Ashton Jeanty. Genty's incredible. I do think he's the number 4 pick, but of course, if Travis Hunter somehow is there, I think Travis is going to be the pick, and then Jeanty is at number 6. Then you got the Jets going Will Campbell. Personally, I think Will Campbell is being a bit overrated. I hear that, some of you guys ended up saying there's a strong rumor that the Patriots are enamored with Will Campbell to the point where it's there's nobody else. I don't think that's true, but we'll see what happens there. For the Jets, the dream pick is Membu. Of course, he did not fall there in this, but we'll see what happens if that does happen. If that's the case, I'd prefer for them, honestly, to look at players like Will Johnson. I know that they just ended up bringing in Who did they end up bringing? Brandon Stevens on a contract, but we all know B. Steve ain't really all that. But regardless, like Mason Graham as well. And then, be able to focus on someone like Ozzie Trapilo there in the second or the third. Then we have the Panthers going Tetairoa McMillan. Of course, the third round pick's gone. So second round, hopefully you can trade back. But Carolina Panthers go Tetairoa McMillan at number 8. It's a fine weapon. I mean, it's just he's not going to be a great athlete in terms of athleticism, not athlete in terms of player. I think someone got that a little bit confused. He's not a great athlete. He's not extremely explosive. He's very smooth, and that's really good because he's someone who also has a great catching ability, and he's someone who moves very well for his size. But I mean, if you look at the numbers side by side, we're not talking about Jaden Higgins, who randomly tested out the exact same as like Jimmy Horn Jr. But that would be intriguing. But I do think Tetairoa is probably 4.55, 4.6 territory. Probably not a great 10-yard split, but like he builds up speed. His top speed, I think, could be comparable to some of the best. But, the Panthers get themselves a reliable weapon there in Tetairoa McMillan. The Saints go Shamar Stewart at 9. I just feel like this is the ghost of Dennis Allen that makes people think the Saints overvalue athleticism to this degree. Granted, they kind of just went with their own Shamar Stewart by paying Chase Young. I would say that, the best move for the Saints would be to go after Tyler Warren. Even with that contract to Juwan Johnson, I still see it as a massive position for them to target. I mean, it's a 3-year contract, pretty much a 2-year. And, Kellen Moore loves his tight ends. So I could totally see that being the case. Of course, I think that the Bears are more likely to go after Shamar Stewart than the Saints. But there's a chance. There's a chance. The GM, ownership, like they might see Shamar Stewart and have like a little bit of the ghost of Dennis Allen speaking in their ear. But speaking of Dennis Allen, the Bears go Mason Graham at number 10. I think if he falls there, then, to be fair, even though they ended up signing Grady Jarrett is the ghost of Grady Jarrett. So it's not really the exact same as prime Grady Jarrett. Mason Graham would be a good move there. At number 11, we have the San Francisco 49ers going Michael Williams. And it is possible, right? We were hoping that they get Joey Bosa, pair him back up with Nick. And, he ended up going to the Bills, right? That edge 2 spot, certainly still open, right? If I'm not mistaken, Leonard Floyd's not even on the team. So there's certainly a vacancy there. And you can end up filling it with Michael for sure. I'm not 100% sure if you guys are going to like to do that route, but it could be very similar to a Jermaine Johnson kind of thing with Robert Saleh, so I would not mind that too much. Michael Williams is a great player. I'm going to give him a lot of respect. A lot of people don't like that, but, the biggest issue I have with Michael is a bit an issue that I don't really have with Michael. It's honestly, first off with Michael, I thought he developed great throughout the season. I thought he's developed great over his college career. I thought he was very underwhelming coming into the year and took a massive step up as he got healthy. But the biggest issue is that now what we have to go on in terms of athletic testing numbers is a bunch of dudes who have a stopwatch on their phone. I don't give a shit if you're an NFL scout or if you're some tech bro. Like, honestly, some tech bros might be better at timing you than NFL scouts. Right, we were talking about how Kamari Lassiter, someone timed out like 4.68 or some bullshit like that, right? But on top of that, I mean, people were talking about 10-yard splits all of a sudden. It's like you don't even know the 40 and you're talking about 10-yard splits. So as much as I want to give Michael credit because I think he would have been 4th in terms of the edge group in terms of the 10-yard split, it's frustrating. I don't understand why somebody can't have a camera that's going 120 frames per second or, even like, I don't know whatever multiple, like 600 frames a second, right? There is technically, you could do that to where you literally get it down to the 100th of a second, which technically the 6th of a 100th of a second. But regardless, that's just a bigger issue in general. But Michael Williams, I do think he's starting to get a little bit underrated. People just want to get on him 24/7. I get it. I mean, he's someone who's supposed to be a number 1 overall prospect and then hasn't really been able to produce. But Michael Williams, I think, would actually have a really good career there in San Fran. Cowboys go Will Johnson at 12. After trading, again, this was released today, but I'm not going to get on someone's ass for, going away from Will Johnson because of a Kaiir Elam trade. But regardless, the Cowboys seem to be like just continually shopping these late round picks for former busts, trying to get the most out of them. I do think Will Johnson would be a great move for the Cowboys. I do think their boundary corner position is more dire than I expected. But I honestly think the Niners would be a better fit for Will Johnson on the boundary. But we'll see what happens there. for both of those teams. At number 13, you got the Dolphins going Kelvin Banks to be the tackle. I'm not necessarily a huge guy on Kelvin Banks being like a Dolphins pick because I don't think people are factoring in that they took a second-round tackle last year to play left tackle. And unless you're going to be kicking in or if you're kicking in Austin Jackson to guard, which you just ended up signing James Daniels as well, like you're going to be moving Kelvin Banks into to a non-native position at right tackle. And it's a very weird situation to be in, right? Very weird situation to be in for Miami. But I don't think that Greer would take Kelvin Banks if he thought he was going to be a pure guard. So we'll see what happens there. Colts going Tyler Warren, great steal. I mean, that's the dream pick. That's the dream selection. So I'm not going to waste too much of our time there. Falcons go Jalen Walker at 15. He's my top graded linebacker in the class. I'm a big fan of his game. People love him. Apparently, a couple of my guys that I know that were there at the Georgia Pro Day were hearing the Atlanta Falcons GM, if I'm not mistaken, talking about how Malachi Starks was like the most bust-proof player. So a hot take is that I think this could end up being Malachi Starks, which if you use him actually as a safety and not put him in the slot, which is why people are down on him because he didn't work out too well in the slot, which he never has. But if you use him as a true safety, I think that's going to work out. So it's a dark horse pick for Atlanta. But apparently that's a phrase that they ended up overhearing. At 16, you got the Cardinals going James Pierce Jr. He has off-the-field concerns. I don't think Gannon's going to fuck with that unless you get it in the second round. So the personality concerns, I think, are going to check that off the list. As much as I love James Pierce on the field, I just got to be honest, something in my gut just has a negative reaction to James Pierce every time I see him in an interview. So, I mean, maybe that's a me problem, but I mean, I feel like I have a pretty good sense for people. Like, I have friends that are very weird, like, and I love them to death. It makes them extremely unique. James Pierce is not that type of off that I normally gravitate towards. So to me, that's why I am like starting to like really believe in the off the field concerns. And you guys know me, James Pierce was my number 2 player on my board, right? Above Abdul Carter. He's my edge 1. Talent wise, he is edge 1. And then even right now, he's 13. But I mean, I just gotta be honest. It's a little creepy. It's just something where I don't know. And then let's be honest now. The Cardinals aren't going to go after an edge. That's the biggest thing, all right? Like, if you have him round 2, then you could test it out. But, I mean, you just ended up bringing back Baron Browning. So now you have 3 of a very similar type of James Pierce. And then you have Sweat as well. So not really a room for him to go into. But that's just a James Pierce conversation overall. Bengals going Walter Knoll. What is up with the Are people not doing their research? Like, what's going on? I mean, this was released today. Like, here, I'll go back up so you guys see this. March 12th. It was released today. 2 D tackles were taken on Monday to this team. And now they have 4. They're not going to take another first. It's just that. Oh, these 3-letter sites, my guys. These 3-letter sites. I love them because, I mean, yeah, it gives us something to talk about. But I want to be able to talk about things that at least have some logic behind them. You guys don't agree with every pick I make. I get that. And sometimes, even if I look at my mock draft a couple weeks before, I won't even fully agree with it. But I'll always do my best to at least track the logic. There's no logic when it comes to taking your 5th defensive interior. Like, this is the problem. Because I do think this person ended up making this before free agency and tried to do some small alterations. But it was released today. Like, come on. At 18, the Seahawks go Josh Simmons. It's a good move. I mean, he has experience at right tackle as well, but you can kick him into guard and then see if he can truly flourish. Buccaneers go Mike Green, another player with sexual assault allegations off the field. He's even confirmed it and gone into it. Again, I don't think that Green would end up saying that he did it. So there's that, but, I'm not going to be the one to cast a judgment. All I'll say is, it's pretty clear out there that there are some legit questions. We'll see if Light ends up, being willing to take a shot on that, which, to be fair, they ended up paying a 1-year deal to Hassan Reddick, a pretty noticeably large one for Hassan Reddick's production recently, but Mike Green would be an excellent understudy to him. Broncos go Colston Loveland. Again, this was not made before they ended up signing Evan Ingram, but even with it, Ingram, essentially, it's a 2-year deal. And if I'm not mistaken, it might be a 3-year deal, but guarantees wise, it's like going to be a max of 2 years. I don't, with the way Sean Payton likes to fuck with people's heads, I could totally see him saying, hey, we're going to make people not think. We're going to make the Chargers not think we're going to go after Colston Loveland and go after him. It could be just a little bit of a sneaky way to get Colston Loveland on his team because it's a great understudy as he continues to heal up from that shoulder surgery as well. Steelers go Jackson Dart at 21. It is what it is. I'd rather trade a third for Joe Milton than pay a first for Jackson Dart. I'd do that in a heartbeat. And I know that people are not going to ever agree with that. But I think also Joe Milton's worth a 4th-round pick. But even if he were worth a third, I'd much rather do that than get Jackson Dart. I'm going to re-review Jackson Dart for, I think, now the 5th time. But the first 4, I have not gotten it at all. He has a couple cool throws. We're just looking at it comparatively to a garbage class with a bunch of different styles, but it just Jackson Dart's not a 1st-round quarterback to me. At 22, you got the Chargers going Matt Golden. Good pickup right there. I respect it. It makes a lot of sense. Technically speaking, you still could go Amari and Hampton and pair him up with Najee Harris, but that's just me. Packers go Jahdae Barron. You guys like this little transition I made from Green Bay to Minnesota last time, talking about the 5'3" and an attitude. So shout out to you guys for, being great. And then you guys ended up posting on Twitter, which is fucking hilarious. I mean, I don't try to be humorous. I mean, I'll crack a joke here and there because I keep things lighthearted. I mean, who wants to hear just boring analysis all day? I'm just going to be honest. There are far better people at doing some boring ass analysis than me, and they make it sound a lot better than I do. So I like to be able to at least be a little bit cordial when we do things, but I gotta admit, I'm pretty proud of the 5'3" and an attitude to 6'3" and a fucking beast comment. So if you guys have not seen that, feel free to go check out the CBS mock draft yesterday. But regardless, the Packers are going to be really lacking height in their corner core if they get Jahdae Barron. I know they used a lot of zone last year, but I think it was more so mitigating the issues that they had at corner more than necessarily what Hafley would want to do. But Jahdae Barron's a good player. If you do end up doing that, my only concern is, well, if you have bigger receivers, they might be able to have a little bit more success versus you. Then you have the Vikings going KG. I think that's a great move, especially since you have Allen, you have Hargrave, you have a good group of defensive interiors there, and I think Kenneth Grant's not ready day one the way that other people want to say he is. So this is going to be a great opportunity for him to have Jonathan Allen to coach him up and allow him to be the best version of himself. I do think this is relatively short-sighted in the aspect that, I do think corner might be the more valuable position for this team. But if you go Kenneth Grant, I mean, it's a little bit different than what I was talking about earlier with the Bengals going Walter Nolan, because they just signed 2 dudes as well. But they also had a 2nd and a 3rd round pick from last year that both have a ton of talent. You do not have that there in Minnesota. Kenneth Grant, I think it would be worth it. 25, the Texans go Gray Zabel. I think that's an incredible move. Obviously, I'd prefer to go left tackle, like a pure left tackle, but a lot of the offensive linemen have gone already. Gray Zabel is going to be a great choice. I love him to death. He's easily one of my favorite. Is he my favorite offensive lineman? I mean, pre-injury, Josh Simmons is more, but post-injury, I'm no doctor. I don't know what's up with that. But Gray Zabel, in terms of the healthy offensive lineman, is my favorite in the class. Tyler Booker to the Rams at 26. I don't know about that one. I'm trying to remember who their left guard is at the moment, but I never saw that the Rams were desperate for left guard. I know that Jackson got signed last year, ended up being traded away, but I don't think that the Rams would be that desperate for Tyler Booker. If they do get him, I mean, again, you're kind of just going all in on 1 year. You're going for that upgrade, so I'm not going to absolutely crap on the Rams because this is a damn good player. But, I mean, defensively, they still need quite a bit of tweaking, and I would just say maybe that'd be a better route to go. Ravens go Josh Connerly here at 27. Okay, so I guess they're going to have Josh Connerly play guard. If you want to play guard, then that's fine, but I don't know why you'd have him listed as a tackle then. But, I mean, the Ravens have a lot of bigger issues. If I'm going to be real, the best option for this team is Jahad Campbell. So, that's where I'd go. Lions go Derek Harmon at 28. I mean, again, it's not a bad move. Derek Harmon's a good player. Is that how you spell Derek Harmon? I thought it was, for some reason, I thought it was with an I. Like, I have to go down my board. You guys are getting a little sneak peek at my board too. Now, it's not fully up to date. I haven't even refreshed it just yet, but I know Harmon's down in the 70 territory, and yes, the DBs are not updated, so do not take it. Yeah, that's misspelled. Come on, editors. This is NBC Sports. Editors, come on. Y'all are better than that. Y'all know better than that. Yeah, but Harmon's a good defensive interior. I don't think the Lions need to go after that route, but if they do go after it, it's no harm, no foul. I mean, defensive lineman help is always going to be valuable. Commanders go Nick Eamon-Warry. Fantastic pickup. I mean, I do think edge is going to be a little bit more likely for him, but Nick Eamon-Warry is an excellent choice. Then we have Buffalo Bills going Donovan Ezeraku. Of course, today, if I'm not I think it was today that Bosa ended up signing. It might have been yesterday. If it was, then I'm going to not cut this guy some slack, but still is a 1-year deal. Ezeraku is just the definition of a B player to B plus player. You're going to get him as like a alternate Pro Bowl player, and that's sometimes what you just need at the end of the first, is just a rock solid dude, that you can end up getting a ton of production out of without maybe it being like over the top. But he's just going to be a reliable option. The Chiefs at 31 go Arianti Urzuri. They failed to develop multiple tackles before, and they're going to try to buck that train and go with Urzuri here at 31. The talent's ridiculous. I just am terrified of him being developed by the Chiefs. But at the end of the day, it's better than Jalen Moore starting at left tackle. At 32, we got the Eagles, and then they go Jihad Campbell. Jihad Campbell's a pipe dream. I highly doubt that he gets out of the top 20, but Jihad Campbell would be a great fit for the Eagles, both in that pass rushing mode as well as in inside linebackers. So that's going to be the video. Thank you so much for watching, showing the love you always do. Love you. See you on the far side. Peace.